Hey guys, welcome back to the Football Diary podcast. And I know we're not meant to officially talk about the league table until I think it's 6 games gone in. But top of the table's looking really interesting already, isn't it? I mean, Liverpool and Chelsea, weirdly, have got identical records going into the next game. And even to the point where they both won 3-0 this weekend. So they're stretching ahead at the top. United not far behind. They beat West Ham 2-1, level on points, I think, but all unbeaten so far. It's looking pretty tasty, isn't it, Myles? Talk us through what you saw, and we'll specifically start off with the Chelsea game, if you like, because they look ominously good, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so much strength in that Chelsea side, as we've talked about on several occasions. And this week, even when it looked like they were going to struggle to break a team down in the first half, they've just got the depth to just change things. If you can bring N'Golo Kante off the bench, that's a statement of intent, isn't it, for a title-winning side? Arguably one of the best midfielders in the world right now, and he can't even start the game. Well, he can start the game, can't he? But the fact they have the ability to make sure that he can come on with that energy, it just could change the game. Spurs just lost any foothold they had. They've got a lot of players who are looking out of form or inconsistent, really. Kane's yet to score still, and Son doesn't really look fit. And I think that they relied a lot on the fact that Hugo Lloris had a really good game. But once Chelsea took it to them in the second half, it was only ever going to go one way, wasn't it?
Well, it was 0-0 at half-time, wasn't it? And Thomas Tuchel even said in his post-match interview there was just not enough energy there. He was not happy at all with the energy levels in the team. And like you say, to be able to bring on N'Golo Kante is the most energetic addition to a team you can make. I mean, I don't know how Mason Mount must be feeling because, that's never a nice position to be in as a player to be hooked to half-time. But you could see that something needed to give. Yes, Tottenham were quite organised, but I thought Chelsea weren't really out of third gear until half-time. So whatever he said, whatever he did, worked in Chelsea's favour. And I think he's done that a few times this season. He's not been afraid to sort of make a decision at half-time and go, it's not working. So fair play to him for that. Tactically, he's really, I think, outshining the other managers at the minute at the top of the Premier League quite handsomely. But to be able to bring Kante off the bench is pretty impressive.
I think with the kind of spending that Chelsea have done over the last few years and the additions that they've made to the squad, it is brilliant from Tuchel to highlight where they need to bring it on. But again, N'Golo Kante is a very good player. I'm sure if I turned around on that Chelsea bench and saw him sat there, I'd go, wait, are you not on the pitch? Let's get you on ASAP.
Yeah.
I think the main thing for Chelsea
wasn't really, in some ways, is one of their integral players.
Yeah. I think the main thing for Chelsea as well is that defensive line has just sorted itself out so much. Like, who would have thought Thiago Silva would be a starring player for Chelsea, really? It seemed like it was one of those ones where he was kind of signed for the dressing room. And that's okay because he's a great professional, but he's been fantastic, really. Bar his debut, which was shaky at best, he's been brilliant. And the fact that him and Rudiger have come so far, and someone like Marcus Alonso, who would have thought that he'd be replacing Ben Chilwell, really? Once Chilwell was signed, that seemed like the end for Alonso. And that end had kind of been coming for a while. But he seems a new player this season. His attacking intent is there. Yeah. His defensive capabilities seem to have got better. And this is a player that, by all accounts, was surplus to requirements at the start of the season. So Tuchel is definitely managing the squad really well. They seem really happy together as well. They've still got other players to come in as well. Sal still hasn't started a game yet. So, yeah, Chelsea do look frightening, don't they? Whereas Spurs kind of looked embarrassingly lackluster, particularly in the second half. Just a very flat performance from them. No attacking intent at all. And when you've got the likes of Son, Ali and Kane on the pitch, that's not really acceptable, is it?
Well, I think, was it Roy Keane at half-time? Obviously, it was Roy Keane at full-time, sorry. Lamenting how... Yeah, it was lamenting how... So, all well and good saying they were good for one half, but that's no good for a top team. You can't just have a half of great play with no goals. Let's not face it as well. They didn't score. And then go into the second half with a completely different approach. But it's difficult to put your finger on what quite went wrong for Spurs. They were just so outclassed in the second half. And it wasn't as simple as a switch to Kante coming on instead of Mount. There was more to it than that. And I know he started Harry Kane in a deeper role than he's normally used to and played Son further forward as the out-and-out sort of striker. Kane did not look comfortable that deep, I don't think. His body language has been talked about as well. I don't know if he's as fired up as he usually is because of what's been going on, but he looked like a player that wasn't a threat at all.
No.
They just looked toothless, didn't they, in attack?
He's got that record of starting seasons slowly though, hasn't he? Last season was a bit of an exception, but it's not necessarily a surprise with everything that's happened with Kane over the summer to see him not necessarily firing or happy or whatever it may be. I think the other thing is, what do you expect from Nuno right now? Because they've invested in the squad a little bit and brought some players in, but that squad's needed a shake-up for a little while. He's quite a defensive manager, and the Tottenham fans have just been putting up with Mourinho for however long, so won't want to see that. Your star player wants to leave. You're trying to bring a few other players in from the cold. You've got a few aging players that you need to replace with younger players. I don't really know what Spurs are right now. Like, they're not challenging for the top 4 this season. I can't see that at all. No. They'll probably challenge for the top 6, you'd imagine, just based on the fact they have got some quality players, but it's a bit boring, isn't it? Even when they started the season, well, it was 1-0 wins, 1-0 win, 1-0 win. And then they drew midweek in Europe as well. So I'm not really sure what Nuno's task is. Are you? Like, what does Nuno do now?
No, I think his vision is unclear. I think he's still... There's an element of trial and error to which players work in which positions. And we've seen that with Dele Alli to begin with. He's been playing in a deeper role as well. Harry Kane as well. We don't know where he's best to sit, although he's always been most effective as the focal point for the team. But I think there's future planning as well in some respects by putting Son as the central striker, because that's probably the way it's going to be before long. But Harry Kane's still fairly motivated to hit records. So I think as long as you put him in the team and play him quite centrally and quite far forward and not as deep as he has been, he'll want to score goals. So I think it's more of a tactical thing that he wasn't really on his game. I don't think playing as an actual number 10 worked for him. So I think if you can, again, find that right balance between Son and Kane working in sync with each other, they'll be all right, I'd like to think.
That is true, but there has also been a lot of talk of disruption in the Spurs camp as well, and that some players just really aren't keen on Nuno. I think the big talk was Lo Celso, and I think it was Reguilon as well, were really not getting on well with him. And it's early days to be hearing that. And if you've just been managed by Mourinho, and then your next manager you say you don't get on with, flipping heck, like, that's a worry. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see whether Chelsea can keep this up now. Obviously, they dropped points against Liverpool, but other than that, they've looked pretty perfect, haven't they? And they've got the squad to continue to compete. So it was a good result for them, definitely. They'll be really happy. And
I think in hindsight, actually, that Chelsea-Liverpool draw looks beneficial now for both teams. Because if that had ended either way, one team would be quite comfortably ahead of the other by a couple of points. So in hindsight, a draw was a good result.
Yeah, and I thought it was really fitting as well that Chelsea and Tottenham played on the day that Jimmy Greaves passed away as well. Obviously, it was nice to see them like kind of respect that together at the start of the game, despite any rivalries as well. So, yeah, I think it was quite funny that it was only like centre back scoring. But
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that was strange. Although Rudiger's goal, quite impressed for him to be in that position. But what a finish from him!
Well, a bit like in midweek when he went on that mad run in Europe, didn't it? And nearly scored then. But no, the finish for Rudiger's goal was great. He's loving life right now, because he was another one that looked like he might be on his way out. There was a lot of talk of him leaving, and now all of a sudden he's one of the best defenders in the league right now. He's brilliant.
Well, that's been, I think, the story of the success for Tuchel so far has been his defence has been really positive. Rudiger and Silva and Christensen have been so solid at the back, haven't they? And they've not looked like conceding at all. And Tottenham are very frustrated against them. They didn't have a sniff, really. So, Chelsea ominously good at this stage. Liverpool, like I say, are neck and neck in every respect. Every result has been identical to Chelsea so far. So they won 3-0 against Crystal Palace to get their annual victory against Palace out of the way, because I don't think they've lost for a long time against them. I think Sadio Mane has now scored in 9 straight games against Crystal Palace as well, which is insane.
Mad.
But Liverpool are looking good as well. I mean, we both had them down as like 4th place, didn't we? Or not really title contenders, but there or thereabouts. But they look pretty decent, and I think the results they've had so far have been proving us wrong for sure.
I didn't put them 4th because I thought they didn't have quality, though, or I didn't think that they might start a season well. But I just think it's depth. I think we saw it last season. They were an injury from Van Dijk away from pretty much collapsing for a long time, and we saw it midweek against AC Milan when Van Dijk wasn't there. That defense looks so much weaker. Crystal Palace didn't really offer enough to threaten it. Could have been different when Zaha goes through early on and puts the ball past Alisson, he does so well to recover and get to it. But if that goes in, all of a sudden we could be talking about a different game. Liverpool have started really well, but I think the reason that I had them fourth, and I'd stick with it now, to be honest, is, like I say, what happens when the African Cup of Nations happen? Or if Salah gets an injury, even that they'd struggle then, I think. People talk quite a lot about Man United's midfield being a weak point. And I look at Liverpool's and wonder why people don't say the same. Because Thiago's not really done anything since he's been there. Fabinho is fantastic. But other than that, it feels weird to criticise them on a week that they score. But Keita and Henderson aren't necessarily the most special players. And then it's like Oxlade-Chamberlain. I'd take United's midfield over that.
Yeah, probably. I think they've always been a proven more cohesive unit than United have found, which we'll talk about later. Milner's always been that kind of player that just keeps on going and keeps performing and keeps producing. I do think they missed Wijnaldum. You're right. I think he would have still offered something to the team. But I think the strength of their attack has come to the fore again. Salah's looking unplayable at the minute. To see a goal like Keita scored from distance as well. They didn't really have that as much last season, goals from distance or any kind of moments of magic really that decided games. But they're seeing a few goals and a few moments like that. Although all three of their goals came from set pieces, which kind of is a testament to Palace, really. They did frustrate Liverpool for long periods, but Liverpool were also pretty wasteful up to that point. The first goal, the breakthrough that they had was a long time coming, but they should have scored a couple more before then. I think Jota just blazed one over the bar.
Oh, that was shocking.
Really bad miss, yeah. So I think Jota especially is a player that's waiting to sort of catch fire and come good, but he's still finding his feet, isn't he, in this Liverpool team? But they do look pretty strong despite that midfield.
Jota's such a weird one because he wasn't Wolves' best player, but then came into the Liverpool side last season and looked brilliant. But I don't really know what his position is because he's not a striker, he's not quite a winger, and he's not going to displace Mane or Salah. So I do feel for him. And obviously he had that injury last season that took him out just as he was getting into some really good form. So I think he will definitely come good. I'm really surprised there's not more talk of Liverpool trying to get hold of a striker, though. Because I just feel like an out-and-out number 9 finishes that team off. You're relying so much on Salah right now. And a number 9 and probably a number 8, that's what I would be looking at if I were Liverpool now. But they've started well.
I don't know what kind of market they're going to be shopping in. That's the thing, because I think Klopp kind of alluded to it at the start of the season and that they know what their budget restraints are. And I think it was almost a bit of shade thrown at his rivals that they spent so much money. So they signed Ibrahima Konate, didn't they? Which they needed, obviously. They needed that kind of reinforcement. But I agree, when the AFCON comes around and they lose some key players to that, have they got the strength and depth on the bench to maintain the form they've got now? Probably not, especially up front.
Particularly now that Shaqiri has gone to Lyon and Harvey Elliott is injured for a very long time. So then you're relying on the likes of Origi, who on his day, good player, but what a jump that is from Salah or Mane to Origi. And then, I don't know, you're relying on Firmino and Jota to play together, maybe? I'm not really sure what the plan will be then.
It's not quite the cohesive unit that they've had over the last few seasons, is it? Like you said, it's so finely balanced, their first 11. And they do need someone to be almost a like-for-like replacement for Mane and Salah, because there's no one else on the bench that offers what they offer to the team.
But very typical of us to take a Liverpool 3-0 win and basically talk about why it could go wrong rather than what they did well.
It's because it's a very different situation they find themselves in to Chelsea.
Yes.
I know Chelsea have still not really hit top gear yet, whereas I think the Liverpool we're seeing now is still very much the best of Liverpool. I think they're hitting top form at the minute. Can they go beyond that? Probably not. Or maybe Jota's the difference, really. If he can perform and start putting away the chances he's receiving, we can start seeing sort of 4-0s and 5-0s like we're seeing from their rivals. But yeah, I think Chelsea have got more to come, and that's why I think they're still the favourites.
I cannot wait for the Liverpool-Man United game. That's going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
That would be really, really, that would be very telling, because Chelsea-Liverpool just kind of cancelled each other out. And it was what it was. I'm really, really excited to see a proper game of Liverpool-Man United this season, because all of a sudden that is tasty.
Well, looking at the form of the teams at the top now, they're all level on points, but goal difference is the only sort of decider. United's form compared to the other two's form is very different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Case in point is West Ham, really. The game against West Ham, they won 2-1. They deserve to win, to be fair. But what kind of United we're going to see week on week, I'm still figuring it out. I don't know if we're any good. I don't know if we've got more to come. We've got such a great team on paper, but it's such a crazy situation we find ourselves in, where 1 minute we can perform in fantastically, and literally half an hour later we can just switch off and be taken advantage of by teams on the attack. It's so inconsistent that I don't even know how a game against Liverpool will turn out. Probably mental.
So in this game against West Ham, I thought the one thing that I noticed was the interplay between the midfield and the attack was so good in the first half at times. Watching some of the little plays that they would put forward through Bruno and through Pogba, and the way that Luke Shaw was getting involved in that as well. It was so nice to watch. But you are right that then there just comes moments where people kind of get caught sleeping. Maguire really got away with one at one point, didn't he? When Benrahma and Bowden kind of robbed him together. I said it with Dave last week. I saw the West Ham game and I still haven't really changed it. I just worry that you've now got a world-class, pretty much first 11 with a couple of exceptions maybe. You've got some really good depth in some good places. Like we've not seen Cavani and Rashford and Van der Beek. Like Lindelof, for his faults, is a really good player to have around. Like there's some great players there. There just isn't a great coach. And fair enough, he brought Lingard on. He got the winner in the end. That was kind of one of those ones where it was just written in football that was going to happen, really, wasn't it? I'm sure John's somewhere crying still. But I don't know with Solskjaer. Like I just feel like that when you say they switch off every now and again, it's on the manager to fix that a little bit as well and get the awareness and tactical awareness to not let that happen. It just feels like sometimes they don't really know what their job is. So that's why Maguire farts about with it at the back for too long, and why they give Benrahma the space that he had to shoot. I understand that Varane gets across to try and block the shot and it's an unlucky deflection, but why has he got that much space in the first place? Why do you allow someone that kind of space on the edge of the box? Where's your holding midfielder closing that player down? It's obvious to me, but it's some positives. Bruno and Ronaldo seem to be linking really, really well, which we've not seen them do for Portugal, so that's great. Pogba still looks brilliant. So the quick passing moves. I mean, we'll come to Leicester later on one of theirs, but United, I thought, just really shone this week.
Yeah, I think the attacking third of the team is quite frightening on its day. And I think when we went 1-0 down, and this is a pattern from the last 18 months, really, we go behind and go, hang on, we've got to wake up a bit now. We did that almost instantly, I think. And the way we set up the first goal, and Ronaldo finished it off, obviously, it seems inevitable that he's there or thereabouts at the minute, was really impressive. And you find yourself thinking as a United fan, why can't we see this all the time? And I think that consistency for 90 minutes is what stands Chelsea apart from the rest. It's what stands Liverpool apart still at this moment in time. Because Liverpool keep pushing for goals. They keep making chances. But United seem to drop off and invite pressure sometimes. And against a team like West Ham are a very good team. Yeah, I think they could have taken more advantage of that if they had someone like Antonio on the pitch, which we're lucky they didn't, to be honest. You know, he could have been the difference maker.
Kurt Zouma, I thought, had a really good game as well. Like, it's not an easy task to have the prospect of Ronaldo straight in front of you, but then Greenwood trying to run in behind on one side and Pogba playing deeper on the other. And I just thought that Kurt Zouma played really, really well. I do think, I'll speak particularly on the third Ronaldo penalty appeal, maybe just before West Ham got theirs. Like, we've not even touched on the last 5 minutes of the game yet. No. But that was baffling. It's a penalty. Like, I don't understand how the ref doesn't give it, let alone VAR. He's nowhere near the ball. He gave a goal kick. I'd never understand that. If a player challenges the player and you claim that he won the ball, then what do you think happened afterwards?
I don't know what he's claiming, because if he's claiming that it was simulation, then, book Ronaldo.
Book Ronaldo then. Yeah, true.
So I don't know if Ronaldo's getting a reputation for going down too easily now. And I think there was one occasion where in a very slow-mo replay, it did look like he was going down slightly before contact was made. He was anticipating it almost. But that final that third maybe, was it a penalty, was it not, was so nailed on as a penalty. It really was. And even in full flow, you're like, yeah, definite penalty. But but slowed down even more so. And I can understand how Solskjaer's furious and Ronaldo's furious that wasn't given. The first two I can kind of understand. There was minimal contact, but the third one was nailed on. But having said that, West Ham deserved the penalty for similar, where Wan-Bissaka actually got a free kick given in his favour when he was the one doing the fouling. So on balance, maybe it was fair that no one got a penalty for either of those decisions.
So before we touch on like what happened at the end of the game with De Gea and Noble and everything, one thing that I think is worth noting is the difference in Ronaldo right now. So a lot of the talk of Ronaldo coming over was, he's a different kind of player now. He doesn't track back. He stands in the box and you have to put the ball there or he won't score. Now, granted, his goal was Bruno delivering the ball into the box and he got the rebound from close. And his first goal against Newcastle was similar. His second one, though, however, he ran from a lot deeper to get into that position. And I thought that was really noticeable. Because what I seem to notice about him is, it's a weird thing to say about him, he looks really slim.
He's slimmed down a lot, hasn't he? He's lost a bit of muscle, but I think that's affected his game in a good way.
I wonder whether that's him trying to get the pace back a little bit to move back to the Premier League. So at Juventus, it is a bit slower in Serie A sometimes, and it seems massively at the moment to all be about the finishing. That's why we have so many goals in Serie A right now. It's fantastic. Yeah. So good to watch, by the way. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But with Ronaldo, it seems like he's made this move not just to move back to England, but also to prolong his career a little bit. So if you're having a player that you don't want just stood on the 6-yard box waiting for chances to be created and you need them to get involved a lot more, then maybe he did need to kind of slim that down a little bit. I noticed at one point with Jared Bowen kind of playing as the striker, but also as a wide forward, Ronaldo was tracking him back in the first half quite a lot.
Yeah, you're right.
I didn't expect to see that at any point. It means something to him being back at United. You can really see it. He's already loving it. And 4 goals in 3 is brilliant for him. So I'm really interested to see that whether the narrative changes. And all the people that were saying, oh, well, he's just a penalty box player now. He's not going to do any movement. I wonder if they're starting to go, oh, actually, we really bigged up Messi going to PSG. And actually, Ronaldo to United is going to be a much bigger success for him personally. I think it's going really well so far.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I think whenever he's got the ball or whenever the ball's about to be played to him, things happen. You know, he brings players out of position, creates space for others. He doesn't stop moving. And for a guy that's, 36 years old, that's incredible to say. He's kept himself in such good shape. And I think slimming down has made him look a bit younger than 36. He barely looks 30. You know, it's crazy.
He's going further. But
he's doing well. He's doing brilliantly. And I think the thing I hoped I would see on the pitch would be the sort of reverence the team has for someone like Cristiano Ronaldo being in their team. And you can see it, like just the lift he gives them.
Yeah.
Having the Cristiano Ronaldo standing alongside them going into a difficult game where they've gone 1-0 down to West Ham. And I think Ronaldo said it in his interview post-game. It's a difficult game and it's what he came back to the Premier League for, this kind of like nitty-gritty win against West Ham, you know, because La Liga and Serie A, there were far more routine games.
Yeah.
And this is far from routine, is it?
Well, look at the way that the game ended. So Lingard comes on and scores an 89th minute winner. After that, Ronaldo should have had a penalty. Wasn't given. Then VAR gives West Ham a penalty. Mark Noble comes on, brilliant penalty taker. De Gea, who hasn't saved a penalty in 25 years or something ridiculous, then saves it. They're like, what a brilliant... That's the Premier League, get it? That's why Ronaldo's it. What did you think of it all?
To be honest, when Noble came on, with that snap decision for Moyes to come on when he did, I knew he was going to miss because he hadn't even taken his tracksuit off. He'd not done any stretching, any warming up at all. And I mean, there were shades of England in the Euro final, wasn't there, really, bringing him on just for that penalty. But I think the fact he didn't warm up added to the pressure of the occasion. It was always going to end that way. I think it was almost advantage De Gea in that respect.
You see it all the time. Was it Vardy against Tottenham last season? He did the same thing as well, didn't he? When you bring a player off the bench and go, right, the first thing you've got to do is take this penalty, psychologically, that's hard.
It was the first and the last thing. He wasn't going to do anything else but take the penalty with the amount of time that was still on the clock. So I feel for the guy because he was set up to fail and Moyes gambled massively with a player that's like held in really high regard in West Ham. But my question is, if the penalty had happened in the 40th minute, who would have took it? There must have been a number one penalty taker on the pitch. So what are you telling that say about them?
Exactly. I always think that. What are you saying to that player if you go, I don't trust you to draw this game for us? I'm going to have to bring someone else on. Look, you'd like to think whoever it is humble enough to go, look, it's Mark Noble. He's got a great record for us. I understand it. And it would be brilliant for him in his last season to have that moment as well. But first and foremost, you got to think about the squad. You got to think about getting the points on the board. I think it was bizarre. But I was really happy for De Gea because I think he started the season really, really well. And when all the talk was, oh, Henderson's going to replace him now, for me, De Gea's undroppable at the moment. I think he looks brilliant. I think he's having a really, really good impact. And that monkey on his back of, he doesn't really save penalties, particularly after the Europa League final, it was nice for him to get that. So for Lingard to kind of get a little bit of redemption after what happened to him midweek, and then for De Gea to save that penalty, lovely. Really, really good for United.
It's good for the team spirit as well because players are getting involved and they're making a difference. There's still a few issues in team harmony. I still look at Donny van der Beek and think, what do you have to do to get everyone in the team? He's a talented player, but I don't think he was a Solskjaer signing. I think that's becoming clearer with every passing game. When he needs to make a difference in midfield, he never turns to Van der Beek. He just doesn't trust him. So I don't know how long he's going to be at the club for, but it's a real shame because, we've got Fred as the alternative and McTominay. For all their strengths, I think Van der Beek offers something completely different for the team and he deserves a chance.
I wonder if it's too attacking to play all three of them in Solskjaer's mind, though, because he's just a bit nervy of that. I don't know.
I don't know. He throws on 4 attacking players to chase a game, yet he'll stay conservative in the middle of the park. I really don't understand it sometimes because it's not like he needs to protect Varane and Maguire particularly. They're very astute defenders that look after each other. So I really don't understand his logic in being conservative in the middle of the park when we've got so much talent in the team. So take advantage of it. Although I do think if we did have we said this a million times, a very solid central defensive midfielder, maybe he'd trust someone like Van der Beek to have free reign a bit more. I think until that comes, he's still going to play it safe, which is sad. But crazy situation for United to be in where we're level on points with Chelsea and Liverpool, but going off on a very different sort of tangent. I really don't know what United to expect from one game to the next, which is kind of exciting, but also such a roller coaster for a game to play out the way it did against West Ham. I don't know if I could do that every game of the season, but interesting times for United, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I think that everyone's just finding their feet still, aren't they? And as United start to settle, we still haven't seen the best of them. Like I said, Rashford's not there yet. Sancho's not really playing that much of a part yet. So I am interested to see what United become. The difference in the conversation is we're saying about Liverpool is they're giving everything they've got right now, and we worry about when they can't do that. Whereas United are giving some of what they've got and getting the same results, but we think that they've got an extra gear that they can go up into. So I'll be really interested to see how that plays out for the season.
So in sort of imposters to the top 4 at the minute is Brighton. So Man City dropped points against Southampton. They drew 0-0 in another weird game where Kyle Walker was sent off and then not sent off. But other than that, not a lot happened. But Brighton beat Leicester 2-1. Not really deservedly, but they were very lucky. But they are making their own look at the minute, Brighton, are they? They do look a different team to last year. What's so different?
Look. Because remember, last season, all the narrative was that Brighton on XG should be in the top 6, but ended up in the bottom 6 because they just couldn't convert chances. Now, all of a sudden, things are going in their favour. And I guess that equates out. We saw it with Sheffield United. The first season they had Sheffield United in the Premier League, they were getting those 1-0 wins. Everything was going in their favour. The second season, all of a sudden, they were losing 1-0. So that's just football. Brighton have clearly got a good game plan. They've got good midfielders who operate well on the ball. They've made a couple of really good signings as well. And now that they're getting chances in the back of the net. I mean, Neil Maupay and Danny Welbeck didn't seem likely scorers at all last season. No. So for them to get goals this weekend would be great for Brighton. But I'll be honest, Leicester were robbed, particularly of a draw. I mean, I think both decisions, I just think it's a bit mad. Like, particularly when they come from that sort of nature. There's players in the box. Like, what do you want Harvey Barnes to do really there? Particularly the second one. I understand offside, but he's not involved in play at all. That header, it doesn't matter where Harvey Barnes is stood for Ndidi's header, that's going in. I don't care how clear a view the keeper has. There's no way he was getting to that. I think they were absolutely robbed.
I think that you're right, but I think playing devil's advocate, the replay is going to take into account whether the goalkeeper was potentially distracted by him being there. But you can't give goalkeepers 0 distractions every single attempt. They need to have as many distractions as every other outfield player has. So
exactly. Are you going to say the striker was too distracted? You end up playing like 5-a-side where you're not allowed in the box. Like I just think that one was mad. The first one maybe is a bit closer, so you can understand it a bit. The second one, to me, I know it's so subjective to say this, but like I said, take Harvey Barnes out, give him full sight that he's not getting to it, he's not going to save it. So what's the point in disallowing it? Although I am a little bit worried about Leicester.
Okay.
I feel like it's going to be a long season for them. They've got to try and balance what they're really going for. They've been so close to top 4 the last 2 seasons, and I just can't see them getting anywhere near that with the squad that they've got at the moment. Can you?
Well,
do you think they're chance for?
I think they've been unlucky with injury. I think the sign Yannick Vestergaard is just not good enough. He's really not. I think Soyuncu's had a really tough start to the season. He's not the player he was. I don't know. Since the end of last season and the Euros, he's just so bereft of confidence that he doesn't look anything like the player that was, touted as the next big thing for Man City to snap up. Really. Yeah. But now he looks like a mistake waiting to happen every game, and it happened. I think a couple of times recently, hasn't it?
But I mentioned it earlier. The one-touch play for Vardy's goal and the cross from Tielemans, that was gorgeous to watch. That was really, really nice football. And I'm sure Brendan Rodgers will sort them out. They've got some really talented players in there still. That back line just does not fill me with confidence at all.
No, I think Ryan Bertrand as well. Ryan Bertrand and Yannick Vestergaard are Southampton players. And there's a reason why they're not out Southampton anymore. And I think they're not the kind of backups you need. And they're definitely not first choice players, that's for sure. They need to get their defence back up to full strength again. And
they're missing Fofana. Okay. Yeah, they're really missing Fofana, aren't they?
Yeah, he was immense for them. And I think when he got injured, there was a collective kind of disappointment from everybody because he's such a talented player. And what is he, 22, 23? He's a very young, combative, confident defender. And I think at the minute, the defence hasn't got a lot of confidence between them. And that shows.
Injuries have disrupted Leicester so much, whether it's because the player is missing or whether it takes some time to get back. If you think over the last couple of years, some of the players that have suffered, like Ricardo Pereira, Harvey Barnes, even James Maddison just doesn't look the same player, really, does he?
True.
True. I hope for Leicester that they can keep it up. But for me, they look like they're on the path for 8th while they try and go further in the Europa League. And it's sad because we've seen them come so close to the Champions League places over the last couple of years. It would be nice to see them kind of upset the apple cart and get in there, but I can't see it this year.
Well, I think we've said before in our preview show that the top 4 looks pretty sealed off. And I do think that will happen where Man City will get back to where they belong in the top 4, because I don't think Brighton's run and look is going to carry on. So in that respect, what's the difference for Leicester between 6th place, 5th place, and 8th? Does it matter in that sort of area of the table where you finish? You don't get any more prize money extra for it. It's just kind of kudos. I think they need to look at the cups again. I really do. Yeah, because they could be a good cup team, and they actually joint favourites, I think, with Napoli for the Europa League at this moment until the Champions League teams drop in. So there's a lot of good wishes for the team. There's a lot of people look at them and think, they're a very, very good squad. And that's not changed since last year. They won the FA Cup, they won the Community Shield. They're not a bad side overnight. It's just luck, really bad luck. So they'll come good. Top 4, I think, is out of reach for a lot of teams. It's fair to say. Yeah. But I think they'll want to watch for a trophy, definitely. I don't think you should worry about that.
We'll see.
Yeah. Interesting sort of season, and definitely the top 5-6 teams at the moment looks, despite it being fairly predictable in the top 3 to 4, quite interesting still, which is good to see. Only 5 games in, but anything else in the Premier League from this weekend that stood out to you? What have been your highlights? I see you wearing your colours today. I'm guessing you want to
come to that.
Shout about how fantastic Villa's performance was against a tough Everton team, really. They've been in form lately.
To be honest, they didn't start great. Neither team did. And it was the right time to play Everton. There was no Calvert-Lewin, no Richarlison, no Pickford, no Seamus Coleman. So it definitely wasn't a full strength Everton side. The first half was pretty dull. There were a couple of chances either end. But then Leon Bailey came on and was just absolutely fantastic. Came on in the 61st minute. Played for 21 minutes after having to go off for an injury, which is really frustrating. So hopefully that's nothing serious. But got a goal, got an assist, and just changed the dynamic of the game. He was absolutely fantastic. His pace is brilliant. His creativity is fantastic. He gives defenders something to think about. And a lot of teams have got players like this now, and I felt like Villa have been missing it for a while with this kind of winger, like the St. Maximans or the Rafinha at Leeds, like those sort of players. It's really nice that we might have someone that will be able to threaten teams like that and scare defenders. That's what you want to see, where a fullback sees someone run at you and go, oh, I don't know how to deal with this. He's brilliant. So I'm really happy about that. Really happy that Matty Cash got a goal as well, because
good goal.
I don't think you'll find a Villa fan that doesn't say that they love Matty Cash. He's brilliant. I'm just really interested to see what Dean Smith's doing with this system, because invested heavily in wingers or wide forwards and wide players over the last 2 years. And now he's swapped to a system where he's playing this back five, Tuanzebe, Mings and Konsa, where Konsa kind of plays on the right-hand side because he can play right back, giving Cash license to roam forward. Mings plays on the left-hand side because he can play left back, giving Target license to roam forward. But then you don't have your wingers. So how do Buendia, Traore and Bailey get in the starting 11 if you play that system? And the midfield three is an odd pick for me still. I've said it repeatedly. I like him. I think he will be better one day. I don't get Jacob Ramsey being in a midfield three. He's not good enough.
Having said that, Douglas Luiz, I think, is having a great start to the season. I think he offers a lot of energy in the middle of the park. My question to you is, how do you win a game 3-0 against a decent Everton team and neither Ings nor Watkins gets on the score sheet?
To be honest, Watkins has been like this for a lot his whole time at Villa, where he brings so much to the team that we just look a completely better side when he's on the pitch. So I don't worry about him not scoring necessarily, because he adds so much dynamism to that front row. And he just he worries defenders. He gives them something to occupy and space to occupy. And then that frees up the room for people like Bailey to run in behind, or for Cash to have got forward. I think Watkins is brilliant, and Ings has got a couple of goals early on, so I'm not worried about those two. I'm interested to see what the plan is with this system, whether eventually we start seeing Morgan Sanson come in, or whether Nakamba might play more regularly. I want to see where Buendia fits into this picture. It's a weird one. I like that last season, one of the things that worked really well for us was our consistency. We had the same back five for the majority of the season, and we played one system and it worked. Already we've played 3 in 5 games now. I want Smith to know what he's doing, and then we'll see consistency come. But great win, couple of really good goals for us. The only other things really worth noting for me outside of the Villa game were Norwich are relegated already. They are dreadful. And Brentford do look quite good, but Wolves might go down too at this rate.
Yeah, Wolves have struggled, haven't they, to find an identity since all the changes of the summer. But you're right, Brentford are beginning to look right at home in the Premier League. And again, it's early days, but I had them down for relegation. But I think that's purely because I anticipate they're going to have injuries at some point to sort of shake the team up a little bit. But they play so well in the Premier League, and they've been more than a match for everyone they faced, I think, in most games they've competed in. And Ivan Toney looks like a Premier League player, doesn't he? He really does. Yeah. He scored and assisted, I think, didn't he, in this game?
Yeah, he did. And he had a couple of disallowed as well. But then you look at the bottom sort of 5 teams, and they look like the bottom 5 already. They look really... Norwich are awful. Norwich are absolutely dreadful. Burnley and Newcastle are boring to watch, and they could comfortably sink in. If Newcastle didn't have St. Maximan, I don't know why anyone would ever watch them, whether you're a Newcastle fan or not. They're dreadful. And then Leeds and Wolves, 2 sides that have been kind of talked about as ones that could break into that upper tier of the Premier League, and they came up promoted with such exciting play. But Wolves, that's gone, and Leeds, that's not working for them at the moment because they just can't defend. It's really telling. That bottom 5 at the moment, they look way off the pace.
Well, you talked about Crystal Palace for relegation, but I think there are actually teams worse than Crystal Palace now, and I think we've seen that. My big surprise, and the one that I didn't anticipate to be struggling, but you mentioned quite early on actually, is Leeds, definitely. I don't see them trying anything new or different to what they've done already. And I think whenever any of their team is disrupted, they haven't got really much strength in depth either. You know, they've got a few very good standout players, but lose one of those and they're going to struggle. Leeds is a weird one, isn't it?
that hell for leather approach is good to surprise teams. But once teams get used to you and you go, right, that's how Leeds play.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to have space in behind. You know that you can attack their defensive four in particular. They've got a good keeper, but Leeds, they need to sort that back line out or they're going to end up being in a bit of a scrap this season, I think.
I don't think Marcelo Bielsa will see out the season with Leeds.
Really? Ooh.
I don't think he'll get sacked. I think he'll leave because I think he'll sense the way it's going, not see much progress. And let's face it, Bielsa could get a good job elsewhere, couldn't he? He'd land on his feet if he left Leeds now, but he needs to sort of protect his legacy in some ways because he was on a high at the end of last season. I think Leeds were kind of overperforming with him.
Yeah.
But they're kind of reverting to where everyone thought they might finish with that squad. So maybe his time's numbered there. Maybe he can't do much more with that team. I mean, he's got previous for leaving teams at weird stages. Wasn't he at like Marseille, was it? For maybe 4 weeks or something like that?
And Lazio. Yeah. He didn't even manage a game.
Mental, yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm being... a bit clickbaity there.
So we're saying
that'll be the headline, won't it? Bielsa to leave Leeds. You heard it here first, but we'll see. But yeah,
first manager to go was a 3-horse race between Bielsa, Brucey, and Mikel Arteta. Yeah,
I think Arteta's safe. I've said that. I don't think he can do much wrong in the Arsenal board's eyes. I think they're investing in some kind of legacy, whatever that is these days.
2 wins in advance.
I don't know if Sean Dyche's job's safe, to be honest.
Maybe not. Like, I think did he not just sign a new contract though last week?
Can he do?
If their form doesn't pick up, though, what does it mean? I guess.
Yeah, I think Burnley one of the teams that can't really afford to go down. They could a few seasons back, but I think they've invested in wages a bit too much, really. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see with them.
Anyway, that's the Premier League. We've got the magic of the EFL Cup to look forward to midweek. A bit of a come down from the Champions League. I don't think we'll do a special pod just on the EFL Cup, but we'll see how that plays out. But beyond that, mate. Good to see you. I think we'll have Dave back next time around. Are we going to see a sneaky Serie A spotlight anytime soon?
Definitely, yeah. Some interesting things happening in Italy. Juventus still in a relegation zone with their worst start to a season in 66 years. Definitely worth talking about. Whereas Inter, on the other hand, who said they weren't going to defend their title? Was it me? I'm not sure.
Many people, mate. I think the amount of changes that have happened in Serie A, especially losing a player like Lukaku as well, there's always question marks, but all that to come hopefully soon.
Definitely, man. Just talk about the amount of goals. It will take me however long.
All right, mate. Well, enjoy. Hopefully speak to you soon. Take care and we'll speak later.
See you later.
Nice one. Thanks a lot.